The girl wouldn't eat. Jae-sung had put out everything he thought might be safe. Water, protein bars, some dried fruit, even the emergency rations that tasted like cardboard, but had every nutrient a human needed. She just sat in the corner of the cargo bay, pressed against the wall, watching him like he might attack at any moment. "Come on," Dae-sung said softly. "You need food." She didn't move. Her dark eyes followed his every gesture. When he stepped closer, she made herself smaller, pulling her knees to her chest. The silver patterns on her skin had dimmed since they left Broken Ridge. Now they barely glowed at all. Dae-sung sat down on the floor, keeping his distance. He picked up one of the protein bars, made a show of opening it, and took a bite. He chewed slowly, then swallowed. "See? Safe." The girl watched but didn't reach for the food. Her eyes kept moving to the door, to the walls, to the ceiling, looking for threats, looking for exits. Always looking, Dae-sung understood. Trust wasn't something you could rush, especially not when you had been hurt. He had no idea what she had been through before he found her, but it had been bad. That much was obvious. He left the food on the floor between them and stood up carefully. "I'll be in the cockpit. Take what you want." In the cockpit, Dae-sung pulled up his ship's computer system. The Morning Star was old, but it had decent translation software. Most ships did. When you traveled through space, you met a lot of different species. You needed ways to communicate. He scrolled through the database of known alien languages. There were hundreds, maybe thousands. But he didn't even know what species the girl was, so where did he start? Behind him, he heard a small sound. He turned slowly. The girl stood in the doorway holding the water container. She had drunk some. Her lips were wet and she looked less pale than before. "Good," Dae-sung smiled. "That's good." She tilted her head, studying him. Then she pointed at the water and made a sound. It was musical, like 3 notes played together. Beautiful but completely foreign. Dae-sung grabbed his portable translator unit. It was a small device that hung around the neck and analyzed speech patterns. Not perfect, but better than nothing. He held it up so she could see it, then slowly approached. When he was close enough, he held it out to her. She backed up a step. "It's okay," he said. "It helps us talk, see?" He pointed at the device, then at his mouth, then at her. "Talk." The girl watched him for a long moment. Then very slowly, she reached out and touched the device. Her fingers were long and delicate, with an extra joint that made them move in ways human fingers didn't. When she pulled back, the translator beeped softly. "Learning," it announced in a flat computer voice. "Continue vocal input." Dae-sung looked at the girl. "Can you say something?" "Anything." She hesitated. Then she made that musical sound again. 3 notes slightly different from before. The translator beeped in word. Words appeared on its small screen. "Water. Thank." Dae-sung felt something tight in his chest loosen. "You're welcome." Over the next few hours, they worked with the translator. It was slow. The device needed lots of examples to build a vocabulary. But the girl was smart. She learned quickly. She would point at things and speak, letting the translator analyze her language. Table, wall, light, ship. By the time Dae-sung's clock said it was evening, they had basic communication. The words came out choppy and wrong through the translator, but they could understand each other. "Sort of, name?" Dae-sung asked, pointing at himself. "I am Dae-sung," the girl made a sound. It was complex with tones and harmonics that made Dae-sung's translator spark and struggle. After a moment, the device gave up and offered an approximation. "Hana." "Hana," Dae-sung repeated. It probably wasn't close to her real name, but it was something. "Okay, Hana, good to meet you." Hana stared at him. Then very carefully she said, "Dae-sung." He laughed. His name sounded strange in her voice, but she was trying. That meant something. "Close enough," he said. That night, Dae-sung gave Hana the second cabin. It was small, barely big enough for a bunk and a storage locker, but it was private. He showed her how to lock the door from inside. She needed to know she was safe, that he wouldn't come in without permission. She stood in the doorway, looking at the small room like it was a palace. Maybe compared to being tied to a pole it was. "Yours," Dae-sung said. "You sleep here, safe." "Safe," Hana repeated. The translator made it sound flat, but her voice held emotion. Questions, hope, fear. "Safe," Dae-sung confirmed. "I promise." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she stepped inside and closed the door. He heard the lock click. Dae-sung went back to the cockpit. He was exhausted. the kind of tired that went down to his bones. But he couldn't sleep yet. He pulled up the star charts and plotted a course. Away from Broken Ridge, away from anyone who might ask questions. He needed time to figure out what to do. The morning star drifted through space. Outside the windows, stars crawled past like distant fires. Inside, everything was quiet except for the hum of the engines and the whisper of life support. Dae-sung thought about the girl. About Hana. Who was she? Where was her family? How had she ended up on that pole? He didn't have answers. Not yet, but he would find them. He owed her that much. The next morning, Hana emerged from her cabin. She looked better. Her skin had more color, and the patterns glowed a little brighter. She had found some of Dae-sung's spare clothes in the storage locker. They were too big on her, but she had rolled up the sleeves and legs. She looked almost normal, almost human. If you didn't look too close, they ate breakfast together. Hana had figured out which foods were safe for her. Not everything. Her biology was different, but some things worked: water, certain fruits, some grains. The protein bars made her sick, which Dae-sung thought was fair. They made him feel sick too. After breakfast, Hana pointed at the translator. "Tell," she said. "You? Why?" Dae-sung understood the question even through the broken translation. Why had he taken her? Why had he helped? He thought about how to answer, how to explain it simply. Finally, he said, "Because it was wrong. You are not property. You are a person." The translator worked on that for a moment. Hana listened to the output in her own language. Her face changed. "Something soft and broken and grateful all at once. Your people?" Dae-sung asked gently. "Family? Where?" Hana's glow dimmed. She made sounds that took the translator several tries to process. When the words finally came out, they were painful. Dead. Gone. Taken. She told him the story slowly. Her words were simple because the translator only knew simple words. But Dae-sung understood enough. Hana was from a species called the Velen, peaceful people who lived on colony ships moving between stars. Raiders had attacked her ship. She didn't know why. Maybe for resources. Maybe for slaves. Maybe just because they could. Most of her people had died. The rest were scattered, taken to different places, sold to different buyers. Hana had been passed from hand to hand for months. Maybe longer. She had lost track of time. Each place was worse than the last. Until finally someone had tied her to a pole and offered her for a bottle of alcohol. As she spoke, tears ran down her face. They were clear like human tears, but caught the light strangely, making rainbow patterns. Dae-sung felt anger burning in his chest. Not at her. At the universe. At the people who had done this. "How old?" he asked. 15, the translator said after Hana responded. "Cycles. Your time?" "Not sure. A child." She was a child. Dae-sung stood up and walked to the window. He needed a moment. Needed to breathe. He had known it was bad, but hearing it was different. Knowing she had been alone for so long, hurt for so long, he felt Hana come up beside him. She was quiet for a moment, looking at the stars. Then she said something. The translator was slow to process it. "You first." "First kind." Dae-sung looked down at her. "What?" "Many took, many hurt." "You first kind. First help. Why?" He didn't know how to answer that. How to explain that it wasn't special, that it was just basic decency, that anyone should have done the same. But no one had. Out of everyone who walked past that pole, only he had stopped. "Because you needed help," he said finally. "That's enough reason." Hana reached out slowly and touched his hand. Just for a second. Her fingers were cool and smooth. Then she pulled back, but she smiled. It was a small smile, uncertain and fragile. But it was real. "Thanks," she said. "Thank you, Dae-sung." "You're welcome, Hana." They stood together at the window watching the stars. Two people from different worlds, different species, different languages, but finding something that went beyond all of that. Understanding, trust, maybe eventually family. The dust never settled on Broken Ridge. It hung in the air like a dirty curtain, making everything look brown and tired. Dae-sung walked through the market with his hands in his pockets, trying not to breathe too deeply. 3 weeks in space hauling cargo, and this was his reward. A rundown trading post that smelled like sweat and engine fuel. He needed supplies. Nothing fancy. Just food, water filters, and maybe something strong to drink. The year was 2287 and humanity had spread across the stars, but places like Broken Ridge proved they hadn't learned much. This was the frontier. The edge of human space where laws were suggestions and morals were luxuries. Dae-sung was 34 years old, though he felt older. His face had lines that came from squinting at navigation screens and worrying about fuel costs. He wore a worn jacket that had seen better days and boots that had walked on a dozen different worlds. He was nobody special, just another hauler trying to make enough credits to keep flying. The market was busy today. Traders shouted prices. Machinery hummed and clanked. Somewhere, someone was cooking something that made Dae-sung's stomach turn. He pushed through the crowd, heading toward the supply depot where he could get his water filters without being cheated too badly. That's when he saw the crowd. About 20 people stood in a loose circle near an old loading pole. They were pointing and laughing. Some were taking pictures with their devices. Others were just staring. Dae-sung felt something cold settle in his stomach. Crowds like that never meant anything good. He should have walked past. That was the smart thing to do on Broken Ridge. Mind your business, get your supplies, leave, simple, safe. But his feet carried him closer. The crowd parted slightly and Dae-sung saw her. She was tied to the pole with rough cord that had rubbed her wrists raw. She couldn't have been more than a teenager by the look of her. Though Dae-sung had never seen her species before, her skin had a silver sheen to it, like moonlight on water. Her eyes were large and dark, taking up much of her small face. She had no hair, but delicate patterns of lighter silver traced across her scalp and down her neck. She was shaking. Her whole body trembled as she tried to make herself smaller, pulling away from the people who leaned in too close. Above her head hung a sign. Someone had scrawled words on a piece of cardboard in thick black marker. Trade for liquor bottle. Dae-sung stood frozen. He had seen bad things on the frontier. He had seen people cheat each other, hurt each other, abandon each other. But this was something else. This was someone treating a living, thinking being like a piece of cargo, like something less than trash. What species is that? Someone in the crowd asked. Who cares? Looks expensive, though. Nah, if she was worth anything, she wouldn't be tied to a pole for booze. The alien girl flinched at every voice. Her eyes darted around like a trapped animal looking for escape. There was no escape. The cord held tight. The crowd held tighter. A drunk trader stumbled forward. He was a big man with a red face and breath that Dae-sung could smell from 5 meters away. The trader reached out with a dirty hand toward the girl's face. Let's see what we got here. The girl tried to pull back, but there was nowhere to go. She made a sound. Not quite a scream. More like a whimper. A sound of pure terror that cut through all the noise of the market. Something inside Dae-sung broke. He didn't think. Thinking was dangerous. Thinking meant counting the cost, weighing the risks, finding reasons to walk away. He just moved. Hey, his voice came out harder than he expected. Back off. The drunk trader turned, squinting. What's your problem? I said back off. The crowd had gone quiet now. Everyone was watching. The drunk trader looked Dae-sung up and down, trying to decide if this was worth a fight. Dae-sung wasn't a big man, but something in his eyes must have said he was serious. The trader spat on the ground and stumbled away, muttering curses. Dae-sung turned to the crowd. Who does she belong to? Nobody, someone called out. Some raiders left her here this morning. Said anyone could have her for a bottle. Fine. Dae-sung's jaw was tight. I'll take her. You got a bottle? Dae-sung did. He kept a bottle of cheap whiskey in his cargo hold for emergencies. For nights when the silence of space got too loud, for memories he wanted to forget. He had been planning to save it, but this was more important. On my ship. Wait here. We ain't going anywhere, someone laughed. Dae-sung ran back to the landing pad where the Morning Star sat waiting. His ship wasn't much to look at. A small cargo hauler with room for one person and whatever freight he could pack into the hold. But it was his, and it was freedom. And right now it held the price of a life. He grabbed the bottle from his personal locker and ran back to the market. His lungs burned. Sweat dripped down his back. The crowd was still there, though a few people had drifted away. The alien girl was still tied to the pole, still shaking. Dae-sung held up the bottle. Here. Someone took it from his hand. He didn't even see who. He didn't care. He pulled out his utility knife and cut the cords binding the girl's wrists. She fell forward and he caught her. She weighed almost nothing. Up close he could see more details. The patterns on her skin seemed to pulse faintly with light. Her eyes had no whites, just solid darkness that reflected his face like mirrors. She was staring at him with such confusion and fear that his chest hurt. It's okay, he said quietly. You're safe now. She didn't understand his words. That much was obvious. But maybe she understood his tone. Maybe she understood that his hands were gentle as he helped her stand. Maybe she understood that he was taking her away from the pole and the crowd and the sign that reduced her to the price of a drink. The crowd was already dispersing. The show was over. Someone had gotten what they wanted. Nobody cared what happened next. That was Broken Ridge. That was the frontier. Dae-sung supported the girl as they walked slowly toward the morning star. She limped. Her feet were bare and cut from walking on rough ground. Every few steps she looked up at him with those mirror-dark eyes, trying to understand what was happening. He didn't have answers for her. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know her species or her language or what she needed to survive. He didn't know if she was sick or injured or traumatized beyond help. He didn't have a plan. All he knew was that he couldn't leave her tied to that pole. He couldn't walk away and pretend he hadn't seen her. He couldn't let the universe be that cruel without trying to push back, even just a little. They reached the morning star. The cargo ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss. The girl stopped, staring at the ship with wide eyes. Maybe she had been on ships before. Maybe they reminded her of bad things. "It's okay," Dae-sung said again. "This one's different." He led her inside. The ramp closed behind them, shutting out the dust and noise of Broken Ridge. In the sudden quiet, Dae-sung could hear the girl's rapid breathing. Could hear his own heart pounding. What had he just done? The girl stood in the middle of his cargo bay, looking small and lost. She was still trembling, still scared, but she was also free. The cords were gone. The sign was gone. The crowd was gone. Dae-sung ran a hand through his hair and let out a long breath. He had bought himself a universe of trouble. Getting involved on the frontier was stupid. Taking responsibility for an alien he didn't understand was stupider. He should have walked past. Should have minded his business. But when he looked at her, standing there in his ship, no longer tied to a pole-like property, he couldn't regret it. "Okay," he said, more to himself than to her. "Let's figure this out." The Morning Star's engines hummed to life. Within minutes, they were lifting off. Broken Ridge fell away beneath them, becoming just another brown dot on a brown planet. Dae-sung set a course for nowhere in particular, just away. In the cargo bay, the alien girl touched the wall with careful fingers, feeling the vibration of the engines. She looked at Dae-sung again, and this time there might have been something other than fear in her eyes. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was the beginning of trust. Or maybe it was just confusion. Dae-sung didn't know, but he had time to figure it out. For now, she was safe. For now, that was enough. Weeks passed like water. Dae-sung fell into a routine with Hana, and slowly his ship stopped feeling empty. She was quiet most of the time, but her presence filled spaces he hadn't realized were hollow. In the mornings, she would emerge from her cabin and they would eat breakfast together. Simple food. Quiet company. Then Dae-sung would check his cargo manifests and navigation while Hana explored the ship. The Morning Star wasn't big. A cockpit, a small galley, 2 cabins, a cargo bay, and an engine room. You could walk from one end to the other in 30 steps. But for Hana, every corner held something new. She was fascinated by everything. The way the water recycler hummed, the emergency medical supplies with their strange human labels, the star charts that showed thousands of worlds. One day, Dae-sung found her in the cargo bay, staring at a box of spare parts. She held up a connector coupling, turning it in her hands. "What this?" she asked. Her human words were getting better. The translator helped, but she was learning on her own too. "Engine part," Dae-sung said. "Connects fuel line to primary combustion chamber." Hana nodded slowly. "I learn?" Dae-sung was surprised. "You want to learn about engines?" "Want learn everything, useful, help you." Something warm settled in Dae-sung's chest. She wanted to help. She wanted to be useful. Not because he demanded it, but because she cared. When was the last time someone had cared about his life? "Okay," he said. "I'll teach you," so he did. They spent afternoons in the engine room while the Morning Star coasted between jobs. Dae-sung showed her how to check fuel pressure, clean air filters, and calibrate the navigation sensors. She was a fast learner. Her hands were more flexible than human hands, which meant she could reach connections he struggled with. But it wasn't just mechanical work. Hana taught him things too. About her people. About Velen culture. They would sit in the galley after dinner and she would tell him stories. Through the translator and her improving human speech, he learned about the Velen way of life. They had lived on ships for generations, moving between stars. They believed in community, in sharing, in making beauty wherever they went. Hana taught him a Velen meditation practice. You sat quietly and imagined yourself as a point of light, connected to all other points of light in the universe. Everything was linked. Everyone mattered. Daesung had never been spiritual. Life on the frontier beat that out of you. But when he tried Hana's meditation, he felt something. Maybe peace. Maybe just a moment when his mind stopped racing and his shoulders relaxed. Feel better? Hana asked. Yeah, Daesung admitted. It does help, she smiled. Her smiles came easier now. More often. The scared girl from Broken Ridge was still there, buried deep, but something new was growing over those scars. Something stronger. Music helped too. Hana loved human music. She would sit in the cockpit while Daesung piloted, listening to his collection of old songs. Classical, rock, jazz, electronic. She absorbed it all. Sometimes she would hum along, her voice creating harmonies that didn't quite exist in human music. It was beautiful. Alien but beautiful. Your people, Daesung asked one evening. Did they have music? Hana's glow dimmed a little. Yes, we sang, together, family sang, ship sang. All together. I'm sorry, Daesung said quietly. That you lost that? Not lost, Hana said. Here, she touched her chest. Inside, memory. Someday maybe I find others. Sing again. The hope in her voice made Daesung's throat tight. She had lost everything, but she still hoped. Still believed there might be other Velen out there. Other survivors will look, Daesung promised. When it's safe. We'll search for your people. Hana looked at him with those mirror dark eyes. You good man, Daesung. Best human. I'm just doing what's right. Many humans not do right. You different. Daesung didn't know what to say to that. He had never thought of himself as particularly good. Just a guy trying to get by. But Hana saw something in him that he didn't see in himself. Maybe that was worth something. Life settled into a comfortable pattern. Daesung took smaller cargo jobs now. Nothing that required long jumps or dangerous routes. He stayed in the safer systems, places with proper stations and some semblance of law. He needed to keep Hana away from the worst parts of the frontier. The jobs paid less, but that was okay. He didn't need much. Just enough to keep the Morning Star flying and food in the galley. Hana helped him organize cargo now, her small hands sorting components faster than he ever could. They made a good team, but the universe had a way of finding trouble even when you tried to avoid it. They were docked at Greenway Station, a medium-sized trading hub 3 weeks from Broken Ridge. Daesung was negotiating a cargo contract with a supplier while Hana waited near the ship. He had told her to stay close, to stay safe, but she had been doing so well lately, smiling, relaxing, learning to trust that the universe might not always hurt her. He should have been more careful. When Daesung came back from the negotiation, he saw them immediately. 3 figures standing too close to Hana. One was Krell, a reptilian species known for being hired muscle. Mean and tough. The Krell was staring at Hana with narrow eyes, his scaled head tilted. Daesung's heart jumped into his throat. He walked faster. Interesting specimen, the Krell was saying. His voice sounded like rocks grinding. Velen, aren't you? Thought your kind was extinct. Hana pressed herself against the Morning Star's hull. Her glow had dimmed to almost nothing. She looked small again. Scared again. She's with me, Daesung said loudly, pushing between Hana and the Krell. Back off. The Krell looked at Daesung like he was an insect. Wasn't talking to you, human. I don't care. She's under my protection. Protection. The Krell laughed. It was an ugly sound. You know what Velen are worth? Especially young ones. Collectors pay fortunes. She's not for sale. Everything's for sale. Just a matter of price. Daesung's hand moved to his belt. He carried a small plasma pistol for emergencies. He had never drawn it on a person before. His fingers touched the grip. The Krell saw the movement. His eyes narrowed. You really want to do this, Holler? Over some alien stray? She's not a stray. She's a person. Now step back before this becomes a problem. For a long moment, nobody moved. The Krell weighed his options. He was bigger, stronger, probably faster, but they were on a station with security. And Daesung looked serious. Crazy serious. The kind of serious that meant he might actually pull that pistol. Finally, the Krell backed up. Not worth it. Not here. He looked at Hana one more time. But I'll remember this. I'll remember both of you. He walked away, his companions following. Daesung watched until they disappeared into the crowd. His heart was hammering. His hand shook as he released the pistol grip. Daesung? Hana's voice was small. He turned. She was trembling again, just like that first day. All the progress they had made seemed to have vanished in one moment of fear. It's okay, Daesung said, though his own voice shook. He's gone. You're safe, he said. Hana stopped, struggling with the words. He said I worth money. He come back? Daesung wanted to lie. Wanted to say no, everything would be fine, the Krell was just talking. But Hana deserved truth, maybe, he admitted. I don't know. But I won't let anyone take you. I promise, Hana looked at him. You promised before. At Broken Ridge, you keep promise. I trust you. That trust was a heavy weight. A responsibility. But Daesung would carry it. He had to. We need to move on, he said. This station isn't safe anymore. I know a place. Inner systems, real law, real protection. It's a long trip, but we'll be safe there. Long trip, okay. Safe better. They left Greenway Station within the hour. Daesung filed his departure clearance and plotted a course that would take them through the Veil, a difficult region of space that most haulers avoided. But it was the fastest route to the inner systems, and fast meant safe. As the Morning Star accelerated away from the station, Hana sat in the co-pilot's chair. She was quiet, watching the stars stretch into lines as they entered faster than light travel. Daesung, she said after a while, you do too much. For me, why? I'm nothing special. Daesung looked at her, at this young person who had survived horrors he couldn't imagine, who still tried to smile, who still hoped, who wanted to learn and help and find her people again. You're wrong, he said. You're very special, and you deserve to be safe. Every person does. That's not negotiable. Hana's glow brightened just a little. In my language, we have word. Means family not born. Family chosen, you that. Chosen family. Daesung felt his eyes sting. He blinked hard. Yeah, he said quietly. I guess I am. The Morning Star flew through the darkness between stars, carrying its small family of 2. Behind them, the Krell named Vorgath watched their departure on a tracking screen and smiled. He made a call to his employer. There was profit to be made, and in the frontier, profit always won. But he didn't know Daesung. Didn't know that the quiet hauler with the worn jacket would go to the end of the universe to protect the girl with silver skin. He would learn. They all would. The Veil earned its name. It was a region of space where normal rules didn't quite apply. Sensors gave strange readings. Navigation computers struggled. Some haulers swore they saw things that couldn't exist. Ships that appeared and disappeared. Lights that moved wrong. Most pilots avoided it. Daesung didn't have that luxury. The Veil was the fastest route to the inner systems, and fast meant staying ahead of anyone who might follow them. The Krell's words echoed in his mind. I'll remember you. That wasn't an empty threat. In the frontier, memory meant vendetta, and vendetta meant trouble. The Morning Star crossed into the Veil on a Tuesday. At least Daesung's calendar said it was Tuesday. Time felt slippery here. He checked his instruments 3 times to make sure they weren't drifting off course. Hana sat in the co-pilot seat, watching space flow past the windows. It looked different in the Veil. Darker somehow. The stars seemed to pulse instead of shine steady. Feel strange, Hana said. Space feel wrong. Yeah, Daesung agreed. The Veil does that. Something about the gravitational fields here. Messes with everything. Dangerous? Can be. But I know what I'm doing. At least he hoped he did. He had plotted their course carefully, sticking to the known safe routes through the Veil. It would take 6 weeks to cross, maybe 7. Long journey. But at the end was New Sol Station, one of humanity's major hubs. A place with real law and real protection. The first week went smoothly. Too smoothly. Daesung found himself checking sensors constantly, waiting for something to go wrong. But the Morning Star drifted through the Veil without incident. The engines hummed their normal song. The life support kept air flowing. Everything worked. Hana spent her time learning. She had discovered Daesung's small library of books on his datapad. Most were technical manuals, but some were stories. Human fiction. She read slowly, asking questions about words she didn't understand. Her human language improved every day. One evening, Daesung found her crying over a book. What's wrong? He asked, alarmed. This story, Hana held up the datapad. Family separated. Then they find each other. Happy ending. That's good though, right? Good for them. Hana wiped her eyes. I wonder if my family's somewhere. If I find them. If we have happy ending. Dae-sung sat down next to her. I know a guy in the inner systems. Works with refugee databases. When we get there, we'll search for Velen survivors. Okay? Okay, Hana nodded. I try hope. Hope is good. Hope keeps us going. The second week, things got harder. The Morningstar's navigation computer started acting strange. It would lose track of their position, then correct itself. Dae-sung had to manually check their course against the star charts. It was exhausting work that required constant attention. Hana helped where she could. She learned to read the basic navigation instruments and would alert Dae-sung when something seemed off. They became a team, working together to keep the ship on course. At night, Dae-sung would collapse in his bunk, completely drained. But Hana was always there in the morning with breakfast ready and a determined smile. We do this, she would say. Together. Together, Dae-sung would agree. 3 weeks into the Veil, they encountered their first real problem. The sensors picked up a ship following them. Not close, but definitely following. Same course, same speed. For 2 days. Dae-sung watched the sensor blip with growing concern. Could be coincidence. Could be another hauler taking the same route. But in his gut, he knew better. The Krell had meant his words. Someone was hunting them. Hana, Dae-sung called. Come to the cockpit. She appeared quickly, reading his tone. Problem? Ship behind us, following. Hana looked at the sensor display. Her glow dimmed. The Krell? Maybe, or someone he sent. Either way, we need to be careful. What we do, we run. The Morningstar isn't a warship, but she's fast. If I can get us deeper into the Veil, into the really unstable regions, they might not follow. Too dangerous. Dangerous for us, too. Yeah, Dae-sung admitted. But I'll take dangerous over captured. He plotted a new course, taking them off the safe route into a region of the Veil that showed severe gravitational anomalies. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart raced. This was a gamble. A big one. The Morningstar accelerated. Behind them, the following ship matched speed. They were committed now. Both ships diving deeper into the Veil's chaos. Space got strange. The windows showed colors that didn't exist. Instruments gave readings that made no sense. Dae-sung flew by instinct and math, his brain working overtime to keep them on course. Hana sat rigid in the co-pilot seat, her patterns glowing bright with stress. The following ship fell back, then disappeared from sensors entirely. Either they had given up, or the interference was too strong to track anymore. Dae-sung didn't slow down. He kept pushing forward, navigating by dead reckoning and hope. Then the pirates found them. They came out of nowhere. One moment the sensors were clear. The next, a ship appeared directly ahead. Big, heavily armed, the communication channel crackled to life. Hauler, cut your engines. This is a legitimate salvage operation, Dae-sung cursed. Pirates calling themselves salvagers. Old trick. Legal loophole that let them steal while claiming they were just recovering abandoned cargo. This is the Morningstar, Dae-sung responded. We're not abandoned. We're not cutting engines. Cut engines or we cut them for you. The pirate ship fired a warning shot. Energy blast seared past the Morningstar's nose, close enough that the ship's shields flared. Hana gasped. Dae-sung? Hold on, Dae-sung said grimly. He couldn't outrun them. Couldn't outfight them. He had one choice. Comply and hope they just took cargo, not his ship. Not Hana, he cut the engines. The Morningstar drifted. The pirate ship matched velocity. Dae-sung watched on his screen as their airlock extended. They were boarding. His hand moved to his pistol, but what good would that do? One gun against a crew of pirates. Stay behind me, he told Hana. Whatever happens, stay behind me. The airlock cycled. 3 pirates entered. 2 humans and a Tarjan. The lead human was tall with a scarred face. He looked around the Morningstar with casual interest. Nice ship, he said. His name tag read Taejin. Small but nice. What you carrying? Industrial components. Spare parts. Nothing valuable. We'll see. Taejin's eyes landed on Hana. He stopped. Well, what's this? Didn't expect to find a Velen out here. Dae-sung moved between them. She's not cargo. Everything's cargo if the price is right. Taejin smiled. It wasn't friendly. You know what collectors pay for Velen? Even dead ones fetch good money. Living? Beautiful young one like this? He whistled. We just hit the jackpot. No, Dae-sung said. His voice was flat, hard. "You're not taking her," Tae-jin laughed. "You going to stop us?" "You and what army?" "Me and this." Dae-sung pulled his pistol. His hand didn't shake. "I'll blow a hole in your hull before I let you touch her." The other two pirates drew weapons. 3 guns against 1. Tae-jin's smile didn't change. "Bold, stupid but bold. You'll die for some alien, if I have to." Something shifted in the air. One of Tae-jin's crew, a younger human named Bong-soo, looked uncomfortable. "Boss," he said quietly, "maybe we should just take the cargo." "Not worth killing over." "Shut up," Tae-jin snapped. But Bong-soo had said what others were thinking. The third pirate, the Targian, shifted his weight. Uncomfortable, Dae-sung saw his chance. He spoke loudly, clearly. "You want to know why I'll die for her? Because she's a person, a kid who survived horrors you can't imagine. She deserves safety. She deserves protection. And if that means I go down fighting, then that's what I do. Because that's what humans are supposed to do. We're supposed to be better than the monsters who prey on the weak." "Pretty speech," Tae-jin said. But his crew was watching him now. Judging. They had signed up for piracy, not child trafficking. There was a line, and Tae-jin was about to cross it. "I'm giving you one chance," Dae-sung continued. "Take what cargo you want. Leave us the ship and the girl. Or we all die here. Your choice." Tae-jin's jaw tightened. He was losing control of his crew. He could see it in their eyes. The question was whether his pride would let him back down. Then everything changed. Hana stepped forward. Dae-sung tried to push her back, but she moved past him. She stood in the middle of the corridor, small and terrified but determined. "Please," she said in her accented human speech. No more hurt. No more take. Just want be free. Just want be safe." Her patterns blazed bright. Brighter than Dae-sung had ever seen. The pirate stared, and then Hana did something impossible. Her eyes began to glow. Not reflected light, real light from within. A psychic pulse swept through the ship. The pirates gasped. Weapons dropped from hands. Tae-jin fell to his knees, clutching his head. The pulse washed over Dae-sung too, but it felt different. Warm. Protective. Hana was shielding him while attacking them. It lasted only seconds. When it ended, Hana collapsed. Dae-sung caught her before she hit the deck. She was unconscious, her patterns dim. The pirates were recovering, groaning and disoriented. Dae-sung didn't wait. He dragged Hana to the airlock, sealed it behind them, and ran for the cockpit. His fingers flew over the controls. Emergency jump. Dangerous without proper calculations. Potentially fatal. But staying meant death for sure. The Morningstar's engine screamed. Space twisted, reality bent, and they were gone, jumping blind into the chaos of the veil. The emergency jump nearly killed them. When the Morningstar dropped out of faster-than-light travel, half the systems were damaged. Engines overheated. Navigation was offline. Life support flickered. Dae-sung worked for 6 hours straight making emergency repairs, his hands bleeding from burned components and sharp metal edges. Hana didn't wake up. She lay in her bunk, barely breathing. Her patterns so dim they were almost invisible. Dae-sung checked on her every hour, terrified each time that she might have stopped breathing. But she held on. Barely. Whatever she had done to the pirates had drained her completely. It took 2 days to get the ship functional again. 2 days of Dae-sung working until his vision blurred and his hands shook. 2 days of Hana lying still and silent. On the 3rd day, she finally opened her eyes. Dae-sung. He was there instantly. "I'm here. You're okay. We're safe." What happened?" "You saved us. You did something, some kind of psychic pulse, knocked out the pirates long enough for us to escape." Hana closed her eyes. "Didn't know I could. Never trained. Mother said I had gift, but we never." She stopped, exhausted. "Rest," Dae-sung said gently. "We're safe now. We made it through the veil. New Seoul Station is only 3 days away." 3 days that felt like 3 years. The Morningstar limped forward on damaged engines. Dae-sung nursed every system, coaxing the ship to keep moving. Hana slept most of the time, recovering from whatever she had done. When she was awake, she was quiet, distant. The experience had shaken her. Finally, the sensors picked up New Seoul Station. Massive, beautiful, a wheel spinning in space with thousands of ships docked around it like insects around a flower. This was civilization. This was safety. This was everything Dae-sung had promised. They docked on the outer ring. Station security came aboard immediately, conducting standard checks. Dae-sung had prepared for this. He had documentation for his ship, his cargo, himself. But Hana, she had nothing. No papers, no records. She didn't officially exist. What's the alien's status? The security officer asked, looking at Hana with curiosity. Refugee, Dae-sung said. I rescued her from slavers. She needs asylum. The officer frowned. That's complicated. You'll need to go through refugee services. Deck 12, Section 4. Refugee services was a maze of offices and waiting rooms. Dae-sung and Hana sat for 4 hours before meeting with a coordinator named Ji-woo. She was a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and efficient movements. Velen, Ji-woo said, reading from her screen. We haven't processed a Velen in 3 years? Maybe 4? She looked at Hana. You're a rare case. I just want to be safe, Hana said quietly. I understand, but there are procedures, protocols. We need medical examinations, background checks, interviews. This will take time. How much time? Dae-sung asked. Weeks, maybe months. Dae-sung felt his stomach sink. She can't wait months. She needs protection now. She needs legal status. I'm sympathetic, Ji-woo said, but I don't make the rules. I just follow them. The medical examination took 6 hours. Doctors and xenobiologists poked and prodded Hana, taking samples, scanning her, asking questions about Velen biology that she couldn't answer. She wasn't a scientist. She was just a kid. Dae-sung stayed with her through all of it, holding her hand when she was scared. Fascinating, one doctor kept saying. Absolutely fascinating. She's not a science experiment, Dae-sung snapped. She's a person. The doctor looked offended, but he was more careful after that. The interviews were worse. 3 different agencies wanted to talk to Hana. Refugee services, xenobiological research, military intelligence. They asked the same questions over and over. Where was she from? How many Velen survived? What were her psychic abilities? Could she control them? Could they be weaponized? After the 3rd interview, Hana broke down. She sat in the waiting room crying rainbow tears, exhausted and overwhelmed. Dae-sung wrapped his arms around her. I can't, she sobbed. Too much. Too many questions. I just want it stop. I know, Dae-sung said. I'm sorry. This system is broken. But we'll get through it. You promise? I promise. He hired a lawyer. Her name was Yuna, and she specialized in interspecies rights. She was expensive, but Dae-sung didn't care. He used most of his savings. Money didn't matter if Hana wasn't safe. Yuna was good, sharp, aggressive. She fought with refugee services, arguing that Hana's case was being handled improperly, that a minor shouldn't be interviewed by military intelligence, that her psychic abilities were private medical information, not state property. They're treating her like an asset, Yuna told Dae-sung, not a person. We need to change that narrative. The legal battle took weeks. Forms, hearings, meetings. Dae-sung and Hana lived in a small apartment near the station, waiting for decisions that seemed to never come. Every day felt like a fight. Then the story leaked to the media. Dae-sung never found out who talked. Maybe a doctor, maybe someone from refugee services. But suddenly their story was everywhere. News reports, social media, opinion pieces. Hauler saves alien girl from slavers. Last of the Velen seeks refuge. Should we accept alien refugees? Public opinion divided fast. Some people called Dae-sung a hero. Others questioned his motives. Why would a human risk so much for an alien? What did he really want? Some even called for Hana's deportation, claiming she might be dangerous with her psychic powers. The attention was overwhelming. Reporters camped outside their apartment. Strangers recognized them on the street. Some smiled and waved. Others shouted insults. Hana stopped going outside. She stayed in the apartment watching the news with growing fear. They hate me, she said. Many humans hate me. Not all of them, Dae-sung insisted. Look at these messages. He showed her his communication device. Thousands of messages from people supporting them, offering help, sending encouragement, but the others? There will always be others. People who fear what they don't understand. But they're not everyone, and they won't win. The final hearing came 6 weeks after their arrival at New Seoul Station, a formal review by the Refugee Board. Ji-woo would present her recommendation. Then the board would decide Hana's fate. The hearing room was sterile and cold. 5 board members sat behind a long table. Daesung and Hana sat in front with Yuna. In the back, reporters filled every seat. Jiwoo stood and read her report. She detailed Hana's case, her species, her history, the dangers she faced. She talked about the legal precedents and the humanitarian considerations. Then she gave her recommendation. Temporary guardianship to Daesung, Jiwoo said. With Hana granted refugee status and a path to citizenship. She's a minor without family. She needs stability, and Mr. Daesung has demonstrated commitment to her well-being. The board members consulted among themselves. Minutes passed. Daesung held Hana's hand. Her palm was sweaty. So was his. Finally, the lead board member spoke. The board accepts the recommendation. Hana will be granted refugee status under the guardianship of Daesung. There will be conditions. Monthly check-ins with refugee services. Continued medical monitoring. Educational requirements. But she may remain on New Seoul Station. Hana made a sound. Half gasp, half sob. Daesung pulled her into a hug. She was crying. He was crying. Even Yuna looked misty-eyed. It's over, Daesung whispered. You're safe. You're legal. You're home. Home, Hana repeated through her tears. I have home. Outside the hearing room, reporters swarmed them. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. But Daesung just kept walking, keeping Hana close, protecting her from the chaos. They made it to their apartment and locked the door. In the quiet, Hana looked around at the small living space. It wasn't much. 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, a view of the station's inner ring. But it was theirs. It was safe. It was legal. Daesung, Hana said. Thank you. For everything. For saving me. For fighting for me. You don't have to thank me, Daesung said. Your family. That's what family does, Hana hugged him tight. Family, she agreed. Chosen family. Best kind. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other. 2 people from different worlds who had found something stronger than biology. Something that went beyond species or language or law. They had found each other. And that was enough. 6 months after the hearing, life found its rhythm. Daesung took a job at the New Seoul Station spaceport. He worked in cargo management, organizing shipments and scheduling haulers. It paid less than his old life, but it was stable. Regular hours. No dangerous jumps through unstable space. No pirates. No running. He missed flying sometimes. The Morning Star sat in a long-term dock, waiting. Maybe someday he would take her out again. Maybe someday. But for now, Hana needed stability more than he needed adventure. Their apartment in Hanbit City was small but comfortable. The city was built on the station's main habitat ring, a place where thousands of humans lived normal lives. Shops and schools and parks. Hana loved the parks. She would sit under artificial trees and watch the artificial sky change colors. Sometimes she cried, missing the real stars, but mostly she smiled. School was hard at first. The New Seoul integration program was designed for alien youth, but Hana was one of only 3 non-humans in her class. The other 2 were older, tougher. They had been on New Seoul for years. Hana was still learning, still adjusting. On her first day, she came home crying. What happened? Daesung asked, alarmed. Students stared. They whispered. One boy called me freak. Daesung felt anger burn in his chest. Did you tell the teacher? Teacher said ignore it. Said they just curious. Hana wiped her eyes. But it hurt. I know. I'm sorry. People can be cruel when they don't understand. Will it always be like this? Daesung wanted to lie. Wanted to say no, everything would be fine, people would accept her. But he owed her honesty. Sometimes, he admitted, some people will always be cruel. But not everyone. You'll find good people too. People who see you, not just what makes you different. He was right. 2 weeks later, Hana came home smiling. Made friend, she announced. Her name's Sumin. She sat with me at lunch. She asked about Velen culture. She was nice. Sumin became Hana's best friend, a human girl with short black hair and endless questions. She was fascinated by everything about Hana. Not in the creepy way some people were, but in genuine interest. She wanted to understand. She wanted to learn. Sumin's parents were wonderful too. They invited Hana to dinner. They asked about Velen customs. They made her feel welcome. When other kids were cruel, Sumin stood up for Hana, protected her. It was everything Hana needed. School got easier after that. Hana excelled in mathematics. her Velen mind processing numbers in ways that amazed her teachers. She loved art class too, creating beautiful pieces that mixed human and Velen styles. Music became her passion. She joined the school chorus, her voice adding harmonies that made the human songs sound richer. The community slowly embraced them. Their neighbor, Mr. Kyung-ho, was an elderly man who had lost his own daughter years ago. He adopted Hana like a granddaughter, teaching her to play traditional human board games and telling her stories about old Earth. His wife made them food constantly, worried they weren't eating enough. "You too thin," Mrs. Kyung-ho would say, forcing containers of soup into their hands. "Both of you, eat more." At the spaceport, Dae-sung's co-workers became friends. Min-ho taught him the best shortcuts through the cargo systems. Bong-soo, ironically the same name as the pirate who had shown mercy, shared lunch with him every day. They talked about normal things, work, sports, the terrible weather on the lower decks. Normal life. It was strange after years of frontier isolation, but it was good. Hana had nightmares sometimes. She would wake up screaming, trapped in memories of the pole, of hands grabbing her, of being sold like property. Dae-sung would hold her until the shaking stopped, reminding her she was safe, that nobody could hurt her now. They attended therapy together. Dr. Yoonji specialized in interspecies trauma. She helped them process everything they had been through. The rescue, the journey, the legal battle, the adjustment to normal life. It was hard work, emotional work, but it helped. "You've built something remarkable," Dr. Yoonji told them during one session. "A family that crosses species. That's not easy. But you've done it." "We just did what we had to," Dae-sung said. "No," Dr. Yoonji shook her head. "Many people in your situation would have given up. The fact that you didn't, the fact that you both fought for this family, that's special." Hana worked to preserve her Velen heritage. She researched everything she could find about her people. Dae-sung helped her create a small shrine in her room, decorated with star charts and crystals that reminded her of home. She practiced Velen meditation every morning. She taught Dae-sung the songs her mother had sung. Sometimes, late at night, they would sit on their balcony and watch ships come and go from the station. Hana would sing in her language and Dae-sung would listen. The songs were beautiful and sad, filled with longing for a home that no longer existed. "Do you think there are other Velen?" Hana asked one night. "I think so," Dae-sung said. "The universe is big. Somewhere others survived. Someday I find them. Someday. When you're ready. When it's safe. We'll search." Hana leaned against him. "I lucky. Found you. Found home. Found family." "I'm the lucky one," Dae-sung said. "You gave me purpose. Gave me something to believe in again. Life wasn't perfect. Money was tight sometimes. Hana still faced prejudice. Their apartment was small and the walls were thin. But they were together. They were safe. They were family." Then 8 months after they settled in Hanbit City, the message came. Dae-sung was at work when his communicator beeped. "Unknown sender, encrypted." He almost deleted it. Probably spam. But something made him open it. The text was brief. "We know where the Velen girl is. Return her or face consequences. You have 1 week." Dae-sung's blood turned cold. He read it again. Then again. This couldn't be real. They were safe. They were legal. They were in civilized space with laws and protection. But the message was real, and the threat was clear. He left work immediately, not bothering to explain. He ran through the station corridors to their apartment. His heart hammered. His mind raced. Who sent it? How did they find them? What did they want? Hana was home doing homework with Sumin. They looked up when Dae-sung burst in, both startled by his expression. "Sumin, you need to go home," Dae-sung said. "But we're not finished. Now, please." Something in his voice made Sumin grab her things and leave quickly. When the door closed, Hana stood up. "What wrong?" Dae-sung showed her the message. Her face went pale. The patterns on her skin flickered and dimmed. "They found us," she whispered. "After everything. They found us. I'm going to the station security. We'll report this. We'll get protection. Will it be enough?" Dae-sung didn't know. He wanted to say yes, wanted to promise that laws and guards would keep her safe. But deep down he knew the truth. If someone wanted her badly enough, if they were willing to come to New Seoul Station and risk everything, then they were dangerous. Very dangerous. I won't let them take you, Dae-sung said. I promise. Hana hugged him tight. I know, but I scared. I thought we safe. I thought it over. It will be over, Dae-sung said, trying to sound confident. We just have to be careful. Stay alert. They reported the threat to station security. The officer took notes and filed a report. He promised increased patrols near their apartment. But Dae-sung could see it in his eyes. The officer didn't think it was serious. Just some crank making empty threats. Dae-sung knew better. That night, neither of them slept. They sat in the living room, watching the door, waiting for something to happen. When morning came, they were exhausted but unharmed. Dae-sung called Yuna, their lawyer. She was concerned but practical. Increase security. Document everything. Don't go anywhere alone. If something happens, you have legal recourse. Legal recourse. That was lawyer talk for we'll pursue justice after you're hurt. Dae-sung wanted prevention, not revenge. He started teaching Hana self-defense. Basic moves. How to break a grip. Where to hit to cause pain. She learned quickly, her flexible body giving her advantages. But she hated it. I don't want fight, she said. I want be safe. I know. But sometimes we have to fight to stay safe. They varied their routes home. Never took the same path twice. Dae-sung arranged for Mr. and Mrs. Kyung-ho to check on them daily. He installed better locks on their door. He bought a second pistol and taught Hana how to use it. Only if you have to, he emphasized. Only as last resort. I understand, Hana said. She held the pistol carefully, like it might explode. I hope never use. Me too. Days passed. Then a week. Nothing happened. Maybe it had been a bluff. Maybe whoever sent the message had given up. Maybe they were safe after all. Dae-sung almost believed it. Then Hana's school called. There had been an incident. Men asking questions about Hana, claiming to be from immigration services. The school had called to verify, and immigration said they hadn't sent anyone. Keep her home, the school administrator advised, until we know what's happening. That night, Dae-sung and Hana sat together on the balcony. She was quiet, her glow dim. He could see her trying to be brave. Trying not to show fear. I won't let them take you, Dae-sung said again. I know, but if they come, if they too strong, you let me go. You don't die for me. Hana, no, she said firmly. You did enough. You saved me once. You gave me family. You gave me home. That enough. I don't want you hurt because of me. That's not how family works, Dae-sung said. We protect each other, no matter what. Hana looked at him with those dark mirror eyes. The attack came during a school field trip. Hana's class was visiting the Spaceport Museum, learning about humanity's expansion into space. 30 students and 3 teachers. Security was supposed to be watching. Everything was supposed to be safe. Vorgath had planned it perfectly. The Krell mercenary had spent months tracking them. Months gathering information. He knew their routines, knew their defenses, knew when Hana would be vulnerable. The museum was the perfect opportunity. Public place. Lots of confusion. Easy to grab one small alien in the chaos. Hana was standing with Sumin looking at a display about early colony ships. The exhibit showed how humans had spread across the stars, building homes on distant worlds. Hana found it fascinating, inspiring. Humans were brave. They went into the unknown and built something beautiful. She didn't see the men approaching. Neither did anyone else. They wore maintenance uniforms, carried toolboxes, looked like they belonged. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, it was too late. A hand grabbed Hana's arm. She turned confused. A human face stared down at her. Behind him, 2 more men. One was Krell, Vorgath. She recognized him from the description Dae-sung had given. Large, scaled, cold eyes. Time to go, the human said. Hana tried to pull away. No, let go. Quiet or we hurt your friend. Sumin was frozen, terrified. Hana looked at her best friend and felt her heart break. She couldn't let Sumin get hurt. She couldn't fight. She had to go with them. But then she remembered Dae-sung's promise. I won't let them take you. And her own promise to herself. Never be victim again, Hana screamed. Not with her voice. With her mind. The psychic pulse exploded outward. Every psychic being within 100 meters felt it. But Dae-sung, working at the cargo terminal 3 levels down, felt it most. It hit him like a physical blow. Terror, danger. Hana. He dropped everything and ran. In the museum, chaos erupted. The psychic scream disoriented everyone. Students stumbled. Teachers grabbed their heads. The men holding Hana staggered but held on. They had been prepared for this. Vorgath had equipped them with psychic dampeners. Crude devices, but effective. They dragged Hana toward the emergency exit. She fought, but they were too strong. Sumin screamed for help. Teachers tried to intervene, but Vorgath pulled a weapon. A plasma cutter, dangerous, illegal on the station. Back off, he snarled. Or people die. Everyone backed off. What else could they do? They were teachers and children, not soldiers. The museum security was overwhelmed, trying to understand what was happening. Vorgath and his crew reached the exit. Victory was close. The ship was waiting in a private dock. They would be off the station in minutes. The Velen would be theirs to sell. Millions of credits waited. Then the door burst open. Not the door they were heading toward. The main entrance, Daesung came through it like a storm. His face was set in determination. In his hand, his pistol. Behind him, other people, his co-workers. Minho carried a cargo loader control rod. Bongsu had a wrench. More people poured in. Station workers, shop owners, people from the street who had heard the commotion. Let her go, Daesung said. His voice carried across the museum. Steady, certain. Vorgath laughed. You again? The stupid hauler who thinks he can save the universe. You going to shoot me here, with all these witnesses? If I have to. You'll kill the girl too. She's right in my line of fire. Daesung's gun didn't waver. You heard her. You don't leave here alive. That's a promise. More people were arriving. Somin's parents pushed through the crowd. Mr. and Mrs. Kyungho, despite their age, came with a group of neighbors. News crews appeared, cameras recording everything. This wasn't a quiet kidnapping anymore. It was a public incident. Vorgath realized his plan was falling apart. Too many witnesses, too many cameras, too many people who refused to look away. But he had come too far to quit now. Everyone back, Vorgath ordered, or I start shooting. Nobody moved back. Instead, more people pushed forward. Station security arrived, weapons drawn, but they couldn't shoot either. Too many civilians. Too much risk of hitting Hana or the students. It was a standoff. Tense, dangerous. One wrong move and people would die. Then Hana spoke. Her voice was quiet but clear. You want me? You get me. But you let everyone else go. No more hurt, please. No, Daesung said immediately. Hana, no. Daesung, she looked at him. I'm not worth all this. All these people in danger because of me. I go with them. Everyone stay safe. Absolutely not. Daesung stepped forward. You're worth everything. Every single thing. The crowd murmured agreement. Someone shouted, don't let them take her. Others joined in. She's one of us now. Leave the kid alone. Vorgath's grip tightened on his weapon. This was wrong. All wrong. It was supposed to be simple. Grab the alien, leave, get paid. But these humans were making it complicated. Making it personal. Why do you care? Vorgath demanded, looking at the crowd. She's not even your species. She's just some refugee. Some alien. Why risk yourselves? An older woman stepped forward, Mrs. Kyungho. Her voice was strong despite her age. Because that's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We stand up to bullies. That girl is part of our community. She's our neighbor, our friend. And you will not take her? Foolish, Vorgath spat. You'll die for alien trash. She's not trash, Sumin shouted, tears streaming down her face. She's my best friend. She's smart and kind, and she deserves to be safe. She deserves better than monsters like you, Daesung added. His hand was steady on the pistol. Last chance. Let her go. Walk away. Or we end this the hard way, Vorgath calculated. He was a mercenary. A professional. He knew when a job had gone bad. Knew when to cut losses. But pride was a dangerous thing. And he had never failed a contract before. He made his decision. He raised his plasma cutter toward the crowd. Then we all die together. That's when Hana acted. She had been gathering her strength, focusing her mind. The psychic dampeners slowed her, but they couldn't stop her completely. Not when people she loved were in danger. She released everything she had. Not an attack. A shield, psychic energy exploded from her like a wave. It swept over the crowd, over Daesung, over Sumin and the teachers and the neighbors. They felt warmth, protection, safety. The energy wrapped around them like armor. But for Vorgath and his crew, caught in direct contact with Hana, it was different. The energy burned through their dampeners, overloaded their nervous systems. All three men screamed and fell, their weapons clattering to the floor. Hana collapsed immediately. The effort was too much. She fell toward the hard museum floor. Dae-sung caught her before she hit. He cradled her in his arms, checking for breathing, for pulse. She was alive. Unconscious but alive. Her patterns barely glowed. Station security swarmed in, restraining Vorgath and his crew. Medical teams rushed forward. The crowd pressed close, everyone talking at once, asking if Hana was okay, offering help. "Back up," Dae-sung said. "Give her space." They did. They gave space but didn't leave. They formed a protective circle around Dae-sung and Hana. Human shields made of ordinary people who refused to let anything else hurt this child. The medics arrived with a stretcher. Dae-sung carried Hana to it himself, not letting anyone else touch her. "I'm coming with her," he told the medics. It wasn't a question. "Of course," the lead medic said. "You're her guardian." At the hospital, Dae-sung waited while doctors examined Hana. Hours passed. Minho and Bong-soo came to sit with him. Then Soo-min and her parents. Then Mr. and Mrs. Kyung-ho. Then more neighbors. More co-workers. More people from their community. They filled the waiting room. Brought food. Brought support. Brought love. "She's going to be okay," Mrs. Kyung-ho said, patting Dae-sung's hand. "That girl is strong. Stronger than she knows." Finally, a doctor emerged. "She's stable. Exhausted and dehydrated, but stable. She'll need rest. Lots of rest. But she'll recover fully." Dae-sung felt his legs go weak with relief. "Can I see her?" "She's asking for you." Hana was in a private room surrounded by monitoring equipment. Her patterns were brighter now, pulsing gently. She looked small in the hospital bed, but her eyes were open. "Dae-sung," she whispered, "I'm here." He took her hand. "You scared me." "I scared me too." She tried to smile. "But everyone okay?" "Soo-min, the students? Everyone's fine. Because of you. You protected them. Learned from you. You always protect." "You show me how." Dae-sung felt his eyes burn. "You were so brave. I not want be brave. I want be normal. I want be safe. You will be. I promise. This time for real." And it was. Over the next days, the full story came out. Vorgath had been working for a slaver network that operated on the edge of civilized space. Station security cracked down hard. Arrests were made across multiple systems. The network was dismantled. The threat to Hana, to all the Velen survivors being hunted, ended. The community's defense of Hana became news across human space. Videos of ordinary people standing up to armed mercenaries, of Mrs. Kyung-ho's speech about protecting neighbors, of Soo-min crying for her best friend, of Dae-sung running to save his daughter. Public opinion shifted completely. Those who had questioned alien refugees before saw the truth, saw a scared child who just wanted to be safe, saw humans choosing compassion over convenience, choosing to stand together.